This is Governor Bob Ehrlich. Good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go!
You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics. He's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. Exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. He calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics. He's got the facts. Dr. Politics. No holding back. Dr. Politics. Go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics.
Welcome, everyone. It is Friday, March 27th. You're watching Dr. Politics and Political Architecture Show. Welcome, everyone. We're almost done with the first quarter of 2026. And the weather is finally getting a little bit warmer. But Don, you just, I think you flew recently. How was the TSA lines?
Okay, so I'm going to say this. I saw the posting by BWI Airport today on Facebook, and they're saying, please get there 3 hours early. And then there was another post from someone else showing the line was out the door. I'm thinking, I told my wife, I said, I'm glad we went when we did, because this is hitting right at spring break. And this is like the worst case scenario, is to have all these people show up with all these problems. Now, BWI, things were a little wonky. I mean, in terms of we got there and we were a little bit, we're kind of confused because they have, normally you have a TSA pre-check line, you've got the regular line, but they put everybody in the same line. And then you had to go through and pass through the K9 section, and then you could line up. And I'm like, I've never seen this before.
What's the point of having TSA pre if you have to be in the line with all the peasants?
Yeah, and then they shifted us to it was very confusing. I wasn't really sure what the heck line I was in after that, but we got through and it was fine. So both coming and going, whatever, security was not an issue, but I think we hit it kind of at the right time, and we hit the right airports. I mean, even that time we went through at BWI, the reports were starting to come out of Houston about 3 hour lines and stuff like that. So, I'm grateful that things went smoothly, and considering the fact that, we flew going back home, we flew out of Evansville, which has got like 3 airlines. But it was fine. It was perfectly fine. The getting through security wasn't my problem in traveling. Getting onto the airplane and getting back home was my problem. So
Yeah.
it was interesting. The part back too was, we had a connecting flight out of Evansville into Charlotte and Charlotte to BWI, and there was a maintenance issue with the plane in Charlotte, which is the plane that we take to go back to Charlotte once we get on it from Evansville. And that connection pretty much disappeared. So American said, okay, here's a hotel voucher, 2 meal vouchers, and 2 Uber vouchers, one to get you to the hotel and the other one to get you from.
That was nice of American Airlines to do that. Usually they don't even do any of that stuff.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
I mean, now $12, woohoo! That buys you a lot of food at the airport, right?
Yeah, what's that get you, a soda?
Yeah. I mean, actually, we made it work at Burger King. We used that got a couple of Whoppers and some onion rings, and I paid 11 cents out of my pocket. But we get into Charlotte, and so it's already late at night on a Saturday night. They send us to this hotel, which was the Charlotte City Doubletree Hotel. And as we're getting in with the Uber, the traffic is like nuts. I'm like, I have no idea why is this traffic like bumper to bumper. There's tons of people in the street. Get to the hotel, find out that they're completely sold out, and they had told American that. And then
Wait, was this was this like the Sunday before last or something like that, or last week or week before last?
Yeah, it was the
Because
14th.
Yeah, because our friend Bradley's dad, they were flying from Florida and they got stuck in Charlotte too, and there was no hotel room. No.
Yeah. So here's the reason why. It was the last day of the Atlantic Coast Conference men's basketball tournament. Okay. There's at least 20,000 people in the city of Charlotte, doing this. Now the game was over. The championship game was over. It had already been over for hours. I mean, by the time we get to the hotel, it's like, I don't know, close to midnight or whatever it is. But there are people everywhere. And so hotel security basically has the hotel closed. They only let you in if you've got a key card or if you need to go in for some other reason. But they just didn't want anybody coming in the hotel. But I spent a good hour on the phone with American trying to find another hotel in a sold out city. It got to the point where even though I am what's called Platinum Pro, Lifetime Platinum Pro, that I had one agent who said, she just apologized over and over and said, you're going to have to walk to a hotel and, and find your own room. And I'm like, that's completely unacceptable. I got a super.
You should ask them give you an Uber to Greenville so you could stay at a hotel in Greenville.
They did find me a hotel back closer to the airport, which all the airport hotels have been sold out prior to that. But I had to take an Uber there. But the way things work, it's in this strange system, is that the second Uber voucher that I had basically went away, and they could not reissue that voucher. I had to pay for it out of my own pocket. I'm now waiting for American to tell me what do I do to get reimbursement for that Uber trip. And stuff. So it's
honestly, I'd ask for some mileage, extra bonus mileage points for that.
That's the thing. That's what I mean. If they were smart, they would say, look, okay, we also want to give you 5,000 miles or something like that for your trouble, because we did not get to the second hotel until like 1 a.m. All right. It's like, we were tired. It was ridiculous. But, and then we got confronted by a woman who had been in Evansville, I guess, with us, and she's like, oh, you're just getting here now? And she just started hurling like expletives at us to complain about the hotel clerk because they had a family emergency. They had a death in the family and they're traveling. And they didn't get they had the same problem with the sold out hotel, but they apparently did not get a voucher for a second hotel or whatever. And so she couldn't get the clerk to give the family a room there. It's like, okay, I realize you're venting, but what am I supposed to do about this at 1 a.m.?
Exactly.
Anyway, it was quite the travel.
Well, I tell you, Ian's cousin Jimmy and his friends from Princeton went to CPAC. They were going to fly out of Newark. Then Jimmy's dad said, you better fly out of Philadelphia instead of Newark. So his dad, Brett, put him on a flight at 6 a.m. or 6:30, some crazy hour out of Philadelphia. And Jimmy goes, I was mad at my dad for getting me a 6:30 a.m. flight, but, we just sailed through TSA at 6:30 a.m. because no one else is there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this all depends. One of the things about this, as I look at the media, is that there's all this focus on the airports that have been having issues, with the call outs, big traffic, a lot of people leaving town or trying to leave town and stuff like that. There are a few reports, but we don't really hear much about them, of people who are in other airports around the country. I saw a story about a woman who just a few days ago flew out of South Bend, Indiana, and took her 25 minutes to get through secure, all the whole thing. So, which isn't bad. It's not
No,
horrible.
it's not. I mean,
So, it's just, there are problems at certain cities, but it's interesting to note that it seems that the smaller towns, which you would expect would have would really be stressed, and you would, if you lose a handful of people at a smaller airport, you may not be able to run security at all, seem to be okay. I mean, I'm part of a Facebook group that is basically the Provo airport, because I fly in and out of there,
mhm.
several times a year, and people are commenting. They're like, "So what's the situation? We're gonna go," and people are saying it's fine. They're fully staffed. So, it seems to be some of the bigger cities where they're just getting this flood of people. But
Mhm.
I told my wife, I said, "Look, I'm just glad maybe we traveled when we did, because this week would have been a nightmare."
I am so glad Florida is driving distance.
Well, that was the other thing too, right? I mean, you could conceivably try to think about being in Charlotte and renting a car and driving, but you're already tired, don't even know if you
Yeah.
can get a car, and it's
Yeah.
going to take what, 6 hours to drive from Charlotte back to DC or whatever.
Probably a little bit more than that because 85's got a lot of crazy traffic and construction on it.
Yeah.
If you
So
recall, we took that down to North Carolina a couple of years there, and I've been told by our friend Chris, who lives down there, he goes, "Yeah, there's always construction on 85 down there."
yeah, so it's traveling these days, right? It's not easy. It's really a crapshoot for
Yeah.
you get lucky if you get lucky.
I tell you but I tell you, so like Jimmy was telling me they got to Dallas, Fort Worth, they got to the hotel, right? They go, people were complaining, you know, and this one guy there goes, "Well, I'm just gonna stand at he's flying out, I guess, when does CPAC end? Tomorrow, I think." Um he goes, "I'm gonna be standing out in front of the airport saying, if you don't like these long lines, blame Chuck Schumer and the Democrats for not funding the TSA." Which I think now I thought they were funded, but I think there's like a whole monkey wrench and all that too about the
Right.
funding of.
So as I understand it, and feel free to you know add your own in. So the Senate, the Republicans in the Senate basically said, okay, we will fund TSA. We will even agree, and basically, to your, border protection, immigration control things that you didn't want, the
Mhm.
non-funding of that, so that we specifically fund TSA and the Coast Guard,
Yep.
and things like that. Uh, and then they sent that to the House, and then the House, the Republicans revolted against that because they thought there's, no, we want, we're not going to not fund, border security.
Yeah.
So they've rejected that, but they came back with a counter proposal of saying, we will temporarily fund this for like another 8 weeks and basically kick the can down the road. And that's why Trump came in on this thing, I think, with the executive order saying, we're going to fund this, because, from a political standpoint, the Republicans lose this fight right now because people are mad. It doesn't matter if you're, right, left, center, whatever.
Yep.
When you're stuck in an airport for hours, you're mad. And
Mhm.
and you don't want them to be mad in November or whenever they start early voting and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff like that.
September, I guess Virginia starts what, early voting in September, Dave?
I
You
guess
guys
so.
are
But if they should be mad anyway, it should be Democrats, and it's our failure in making that case because I don't.
Right.
And part of it is because Trump's been distracted because you got Iran, and so, and actually, I think a lot of people don't even realize it. If you fly, you realize there's a partial shutdown, but I think a lot of Americans don't seem to realize that. Maybe they're starting to now, but this has been going on for a while.
But
But I had heard that Trump had been able, through an executive order, to find some money to help pay the TSA, from what I heard today.
Yeah, I think what he was doing is that he was going to redirect some money to the TSA,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do that, basically out of the one big beautiful bill, that
yeah,
kind of a thing. So we'll see if that holds water, and that he's putting Russ Vought in charge of figuring out how to exactly make that work. So,
yeah.
now look, I don't know about you. I am not a huge fan of TSA. I'm not even a huge fan of DHS in general. I wasn't really crazy about the idea that we were forming another government agency. I get it. 9/11 created this situation, but you know, I don't know that we need this behemoth of another agency around. Can private workers do the job better? Maybe. I don't know. There's probably some way of improving the efficiency and whatnot of security at the airport. I mean, look, Trump sends in ICE, but there's really no effect of that because the ICE workers, those agents, they're not trained to operate the machines, which is like the big job, right? He's like, so they're not really doing anything that's super important. So they're not really, no matter what Trump says, they're not really changing the dynamic and speeding things up because the bottlenecks are checking your ID, running, checking your luggage, that kind of thing like that, making sure to do that. It's not giving them water, or it's not just making sure the bins are stacked or whatever. Those are not the big duties. But I mean, it's a show of force and to look like Trump is doing something, but it's really just not much of anything at all. But you're right, David, because I think despite all those headlines about how bad things were at some of these airports, particularly Houston's really taken it on the chin. They've been beaten up pretty bad, which I have no love lost for Houston either. But I don't think people understood that there is a problem when 30% of your employees don't show up for work. And it affects the schedules. It affects everything. I mean, look, BWI has got 3 checkpoints and they don't operate them all,
Oh yeah, I remember. This is before we had the shutdown. This is like back when I flew to Florida, and only one of the security checkpoints was open of the ones they had there, and I had to go all the way from one end of the airport to the other end, then from that end back to the other end because that's where Southwest was.
Yeah, so like when we left, we were in B. B is not bad because we just have to walk over to C gate. But B I think was like the only one open, and you're like.
But when you're in A and you got to go over to C, and then you got to go all the way back on the other
side. You're like, yeah. It's like, well, this makes no sense. It's like, why do you have these checkpoints to begin with if you're not gonna open them? But that may have been as a part of the staffing issue at that point in time. I don't know. It's just. There's things that just need to be fixed. Like I said, I'm not a fan of TSA and things like this, but they're not well paid, but they're working, they deserve to be paid. So yes, find a mechanism to pay them and then figure out how to deal with this immigration stuff. The Democrats are definitely to blame. But as David, you said, we're not, once again, Republicans are not doing a good job on messaging to make sure that people know this is the Senate-led Democrats really that are gumming this whole thing up.
Well, and I guarantee we're going to see the same thing in September because they go, this is how they're going to affect the 2026 election. This is how, just like they did last time. Remember, the government opened after the Virginia, New Jersey elections happened. They're going to try the same thing in September. And I think if they try this, I think the Republicans will probably kill the filibuster, and then we'll just do a simple majority to pass a budget and it'll be done, but I am not a total fan about killing the filibuster, frankly, filibuster. Remember, it helps us when the Democrats are in charge, frankly, and it's a messy road going down there if we get rid of the filibuster. Although there is that Rick Scott story about the talking filibuster, and we could, but that just seems way too complicated for people to understand, frankly, that message.
Yeah, the Republicans, at some point will probably lose control of the Senate again. This is politics, right? It goes back and forth and back and forth, and we don't see the like with the House, we're not going to see these times of where you're going to get one party or the other controlling
Yeah, like when the
they came up
Democrats
for
controlled
30
the
or
House for
40 years.
50. Yeah, remember they had 50 years until 94. They were like in control for 50
Right.
years.
I mean, they had decades there, right? So
Mm.
we're bouncing back every few years. We see the flips back and forth. I don't think we're going to see that again. I think we're going to we'll see the
Yeah.
seesaw battle go on. So that means, yes, yeah, as you said, if you kill the filibuster, which Trump wants to do because he's trying to get his agenda pushed through, there will be a price to pay when the Democrats get into power. And I think more than anything else, I think the Democrats are salivating at the opportunity that if the Republicans kill the filibuster, once they get into power, it's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
It's not going to be pretty, and it's which would be unfortunate. So I think the filibuster is one of the last things that kind of gives us a little bit of a check and balance and keeps things there. It is hard. Yes, you can't get some legislation through as a result of that, but we've done this forever, it seems. So we know how to deal with this. You should, just because you want some short-term fixes, you don't blow up the whole thing that will just affect you for the rest of eternity, in essence.
I think the filibuster worked when there was a certain amount of bipartisanship, or when you have a certain amount of people that were willing to compromise. I'm not sure it works anymore if I don't know that anyone's going to compromise, because they'll probably be dead in their own gerrymandered district or their state. And so therefore it's going to be tough for it to be effective. I think it's a great thing, but I just wonder if you have such a period of partisanship that it won't really work. But it worked when you had a bunch of handful of moderate Democrats, you had a handful of liberal Republicans, and it could work. But now I don't know.
Basically, I think the death nail for moderate Democrats was, I want to say, probably the election of Barack. Actually, no, I'll say 2006 when Nancy Pelosi and the clown show took over from the Republicans. That was the death nail. Because remember, Heath Schiller did not run for re-election after that because they were so crazy. There was a lot of moderate Democrats that got elected in 2006 running against Republicans that 2 years later were disgusted with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. And they basically decided not to run. They lost their primary. They were primaried by somebody far to the left. And then Republicans took those seats. And we built on that to the point where in 2010, we took back the House. I think, granted, we could have had a better speaker than John Boehner, but hey, it is, we take what we got.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest problem right now is everyone is on the Democrat side. Every Democrat is fighting for their party, not for the country. And I am getting sick of this healthcare debate they keep bringing up. I thought Obama fixed healthcare and we got socialized medicine under Obama. Why are we still talking about it? I thought this was supposed to fix all the healthcare problems. No, the fact is they broke it under Obama. It was fine the way it was before. There was no reason for any of this Obamacare nonsense. And now that we have Obamacare, every year they want more and more and more and more. And we just can't afford to keep funding these things.
Yeah.
I think the Democrats are way out of touch. And honestly, you see now they got Project 2029. And let me just have some fun with this. On page 37 of Project 2029, they want to round up all Republicans and put them into re-education camps. That is the kind of nonsensical stuff they used to say about Project 2025. But unfortunately, I can't even get a copy of Project 2029 anywhere. So we can just
Who put it out? Who put it out? I don't know who did it.
Jeff Pritzker.
Okay, I don't know.
The failed governor of Illinois.
Okay.
Come on, can't they even be original? Do they have to call it Project 2029? Why don't they call it something else, like Project Osmosis or something like that?
Yeah.
Pick up a comic book. Find what those Marvel villains were calling their.
Boy, Illinois once a nice state, but the lefties destroyed that.
You know,
but once nice
you know,
day.
Paul Simon was a Democrat senator from Illinois.
Yeah.
You know who he got along with?
Art
Paul Weyrich.
Garfunkel? I'm just checking.
No, he got along with Paul Weyrich.
Okay.
Paul Simon and Paul
Okay.
Weyrich got along.
You guys missed my joke. You said, who did Paul Simon get along with? I said, Art Garfunkel. But yeah, no, I know. Yeah, Paul Paul Simon was an old-fashioned liberal. He wasn't really the leftist of like today.
He wore a bow tie because he was different. I remember when he ran for president. That was
Yeah.
his. I
remember
wear a
that.
bow tie because I'm not like the rest of the Democrats.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I think what David said earlier is a good point in terms of, yeah, the filibuster is a good thing, but how useful is it when you can't get true bipartisanship because the middle has been eviscerated, right? I mean, those the blue dog Democrats, they've been wiped out basically. We just see two sides that are very hardened in their positions, and you look at Mark Wayne Mullen, a member of the Senate, and it took John Fetterman to cross over to get him out of committee so they could vote on his nomination.
Thank you, Rand Paul, for that one, right? Rand Paul.
Right. But I don't necessarily blame Rand Paul. Rand Paul has been a little bit of a thorn in the side at times, but I wasn't really enamored of Mark Wayne Mullen's response when Rand Paul was asking about when Rand Paul was attacked. He wasn't he should have been much more sympathetic about that, because I think that's all Rand Paul was looking for, rather than an answer that was somewhat of a deflection of the issue.
Perhaps I shouldn't have said that. That was not his response. Perhaps I should not have said that.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I think, I don't know. Are we where are the Daniel Patrick Monaghan's, the Zell Millers, the Sam Nunns, all of these people.
Scoop Jackson,
and we did. I mean, look, I mean,
Bill
we
Bradley.
did. Bill Bradley. I mean, even Paul Wellstone to a certain degree. I mean, they were at least reasonable to a degree. We don't get that anymore. It is
and what happens is, if you find let's say a Lloyd Benson type or an Ann Richards type Democrat, they get branded as a right-wing ideologue in their primary. And I tell you, it's sort of happening on our side. Okay, what is wrong with Senator John Cornyn? Why is he even being primaried? Why is Paxton even in this race, frankly? Paxton is ethically challenged. Karl Rove brilliantly laid everything out on Brian Kilmeade's show a few weeks ago. I mean, Paxton is horrible. John Cornyn can win this seat. Paxton is going to be a nail biter, frankly.
Yeah, I agree. It puts the Senate in risk, plus all the money we're spending on this race. And you want to protect your incumbent. You don't challenge your incumbent. Now, there are certain cases where you do, but Cornyn hasn't stood in the way of MAGA, even though he's more the moderate Republican. But he hasn't been a thorn in the side of Trump. He hasn't been blocking Trump's agenda. Therefore, you keep him, you save the campaign money, and you spend it to go after somebody else.
Why is the RNC wanting to put on a convention? And I hear the story is we've got more money than the Democrats, so there's a big in your face to you Democrats. We can afford to do another. How about we save that money and spend that on some of these Senate races, like North Carolina, where I think we're going to need to spend some money there. We're going to need to spend some
8
money.
points behind, according to the latest poll. 1 point.
Although it's early, but I mean, New Hampshire is another seat we can pick up. We have potential of picking up New Hampshire.
Maybe Michigan. My concern, though, is Maine. Believe it or not, I have no great love for Susan.
No. I'll tell you, Susan's. Let me tell you, as the sun is going to rise tomorrow, Susan Collins will win. Susan is not. She's loved in Maine. Okay, that's why she wins. I mean, people have tried to write her obituaries for years. 6 years ago, they were saying she wasn't going to win, and she won. I remember Mark Unkefer and we were talking about this. I go, no, Mark, I was there when she first got elected to the Senate. She's the same Susie Collins that I knew back then. She goes to every small town in Maine And I mean, her opponent is a Nazi sympathizer, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what are Maine Democrats actually going to send a Nazi to Washington?
I don't know. It's crazy times.
But yeah, but the liberals, the Democrats, they don't care who they really send, especially if the sentiment in November, by I can't even say November really anymore. I mean, I keep thinking it's like because we don't have an election day as much as we have an election month or whatever it is in months. But by the time we get around to whenever people start voting, whether or not it's by mail or early voting or whatnot, do we have what it takes to handle these people? I don't know anymore what's going on here with our system. I mean, Susan Collins, yeah, I mean, I think she should win. She kind of ekes out these victories. She's pretty sturdy there. Why are we primarying John Cornyn? Yeah, no, President Trump should just get behind him, and it would have taken care of himself in the primary, and then he would have sailed through. And so I wonder sometimes about Trump in terms of, he seems to kind of spread himself thin a little bit. Maybe he'll do this. It's like, look, are you thinking about the pragmatic approach here? About if you want your agenda to get through, you need ours, in House and in the Senate, and you don't go off starting to throw all these people and saying, oh well, that person needs to go, and we're going to put this person on. But when that other person will likely lose, and then you might lose control of the chamber, that's a terrible thing to do. I mean, we have plenty of congressmen and senators we don't necessarily care for that much, but they will probably vote Republican, more times than they're going to vote Democrat, right? I mean, John Fetterman will cross the aisle, but he stays pretty loyal to the Democrats most of the time.
Yeah, you notice he hasn't switched parties yet either. It's not.
Right.
And it's it's like, why are we we're primary, and then you got talk radio. By the way, a lot of these talk radio folks who are around today, they've been around for a while. I remember when Sean Hannity was all behind Arnold Schwarzenegger, supporting him over the real conservative Tom McClintock, who was running for governor, as well as Bill Simon was the other one. And Hannity's like, well, I'm going to publicly endorse Sean Hannity. Unless they drop out, I'm going to endorse. I'm going to tell all my voters, how'd Schwarzenegger work out for you guys, Hannity? And these are the same guys. They're now critical of President Bush. These guys were all in love with President Bush when he was president. They were defending. I mean, only one who's got a sort of a consistent record is Mark Levin.
Yeah, I remember I'm old enough to remember when Sean Hannity was a cheerleader for the Iraq War. And then he decided to become America First Trumpista. So anything's possible.
I mean, and then you had, today I was listening to Vince Colonnese. Vince Colonnese goes, oh yeah, Mr. President, don't just endorse Bill Paxton and tell Cornyn to drop out. And it's like, Paxton is going to be an uphill fight for us to win.
Yeah.
This is not the election cycle we decide to primary Republicans that can win.
Yeah, plus think of it from a Cornyn standpoint, he's the incumbent, so why should he be dropping out? It's his seat in a sense, he's got it. So, but you're always better off with your incumbent because it's very difficult to beat an incumbent. The last incumbent to lose a Senate seat in Texas would have been last century, would have been basically in the 1990s. The guy Ann Richards appointed, Kruger. So it's hard to defeat an incumbent. Tallarico's not defeating an incumbent senator, but in an open seat, maybe he'd have a shot. Maybe he could beat.
But here's the thing. I think Ann Richards, if she had appointed herself, she probably could have, because Ann Richards she would probably not be a Democrat, a Texas Democrat today. She probably would not support Tallarico.
Yeah,
she was more of the old Texas, governor,
Well, I think it's just it's another shooting ourselves in the foot. Now, who knows? Maybe it'll work out. But that's
a great strategy, Dave. Maybe it'll work out.
Oh no, I'm not advocating that. I'm back in Cornyn. I've written 2 columns on it. But
'Cause-
I do think that we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot. And
I mean,
Democrats.
do you remember 2010? We had some great candidates running for Senate, and they all lost their primaries. Like Linda McMahon beat there was another person running in Canada who I can't seem to remember. We in Delaware we had the woman accused of being a witch beat was it Crapo, the Republican congressman
I think
who was
Coons ended
running
up beating her. But do you know she used to be on our show on NET?
what?
The
She was on
lady
NET?
Yeah, the lady that ran in Delaware. Remember that I'm like you, or what was her name?
What was she talented or was she a producer?
No, she was a guest. I had her on the show occasionally.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking about, what was that, Christine O'Donnell or whatever?
Yes,
yeah, I
Christine
think that's
O'Donnell,
right.
yeah. Did you have her on? Was she talking about witchcraft and
No,
I remember when she went to one of the YRIC meetings.
okay.
was
I
this
don't know
when
what
she was running for
She
Senate
seemed like a nice
or
enough person.
But I mean, that was, we can name those people like that too. I mean, it's like we had Sharon Angle, right? I mean, it's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
look, there were some nice people,
Yeah.
but they should never have been running for those positions. They should never have gone there. It's like we have been Republicans have been shooting themselves in the foot for decades now, and opportunities to just slip right through our fingers when we could take control of the
Nevada
Senate
was
right
another
now.
Senate seat in 2010. We could have probably picked off Harry Reid.
Remember Indiana with that guy Murdoch?
Oh, jeez, yes. By the way, Murdoch, and I'll tell you the connection to Ann Richards' run for governor against Republican Clayton Williams.
Clayton Williams. Yeah.
Clayton, that should be in every training guide. We don't talk about rape as Republicans.
Yeah.
Because he got in trouble for saying, well, the woman should just sit back and enjoy it. I mean, like, really, did you just say that out loud?
Yeah.
There's nothing she can do. And that's why he lost to Ann Richards,
Well, the thing
and then
about
that's
Clayton, and Clayton Williams probably would have been a good governor, but he couldn't stop putting his foot in his mouth.
Mhm.
He just couldn't,
The guy I always thought was entertaining in Texas was Jim Hightower.
Oh, Jim Hightower. I was talking about.
Is he
somebody
still
about Jim.
alive? Is he still with us?
I don't. That's a good question.
He was supposed to start a radio show. He was
Yeah.
supposed to be the Rush Limbaugh killer.
I remember that. Yeah.
He was like the third one. I think the first one was supposed to be Mario Cuomo. Then they said Jesse Jackson was gonna put an end to Rush Limbaugh. Then Jim Hightower. He was like the third one.
He's 83 years old.
And he's only got a few elders left, like Gene Shalit, who just turned 100. By the way.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually.
I didn't even realize he was still alive. I thought he had died. That's why.
Well, that's what happens, right? I mean, some of these people, like, you haven't heard from them forever, and so you just kind of assume that maybe they're not with us anymore. Because I mean, we're not watching. We're not exactly watching the obituaries every single day or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Although I had a friend's mom who would read the obituaries, and like my friend would say, "Mom, why are you reading the?" Well, in case somebody I know died.
Yeah, I mean, I check the AP obituary thing, but that's for famous people, and I just every few days I refresh that to see if there's anything because sometimes that stuff doesn't come across my news feed, but I am kind of curious about famous people who may have passed away, and some people that are not maybe as famous, but AP puts them as notables. I guess they call them notable people who have died or whatever. So they put that up. So sometimes that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I just like I mean, Gene Shalit and there are a lot of us. That's why when we're on doing these things together or doing other shows and we bring up a person, we're like, is that person still with us? Because I haven't heard from them for 10 years.
I did not know that Bob Newhart passed away.
Yeah. It was like last year
ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year, I think.
Was it only last year?
Yeah, because there was
He
a
made
time
it to 90 something. Bob Newhart was into his 90s.
Because the reason I found out he wasn't.
What was it? 2024?
2024, and he was just a couple months shy of his 95th birthday.
Wow. He was great. I love Bob Newhart.
He was one of the best.
Yeah, he was great.
Just shows were fabulous.
You know, he was on The Librarian too. He was like the original librarian. He was supposed to be around at the library in Alexandria.
Yeah, those
Uh,
we as we get older, we'll see more of these people that we grew up with that
I mean, Chuck
fall.
Norris passed away. I mean, who would have thunk that one?
Yeah, I mean, but I kind of forget how old. I mean, he was like what, 86?
He was like 84, and he looked. So I thought he was much younger. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it did make me want to say, where the heck is that picture I had with him at a trade show that used to?
That was when you guys went to. We went to. It was like the NatP show in New Orleans.
I believe you're right. You're correct.
That was when Matt and I got a picture with Xena Warrior Princess.
Yeah. So and I had pictures of a couple of the stars from an NBC show, which the name escapes me, but it was it was one of the shows I watched a lot of. So they were not, those people weren't A-listers, but it's still people that
The cast of news radio, huh?
TV, watch them all the time. But yeah, I mean, Chuck Norris. But I had that Polaroid on my refrigerator at my old house for forever. I don't think I've seen it since we moved here 22 years ago.
It's like the joke. You know why Chuck Norris didn't wear a watch? Because he decided what time it is.
Well, the other joke they had
You're
was
not going to argue about it.
He died 2 years ago, but it took 2 years for death to get up after he got kicked.
Yeah. And he was great. Chuck Norris was great. So
great conservative,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but what's really great is we got a new generation of Republicans in Hollywood. We've got Dean Cain, Superman.
Yeah.
What do you call Kelsey Grammer is a Republican too, actually, which I'm kind of shocked by that one. As our, Patricia Heaton, the wife from Everybody Loves Raymond, she's a Republican too.
Yeah, I think she was like kind of a big pro-lifer or something.
Yeah, she was. So was Kate Mulgrew, Captain Janeway.
I mean, I don't know if it's as much as a new generation, as much as that we're getting some people that are more willing to speak out in this day and age, where they previously, were pretty silent. I mean, for a longest period of time, you had Tom Selleck, with Clint Eastwood. I mean, you had some people that you're thinking, but you didn't get a lot of them because they still had their careers. They didn't want, but Hollywood is really kind of a shadow of itself now, thanks to streaming video and stuff like that. Things work a whole lot different now in Hollywood.
By the way, Hollywood is also now against AI because
their jobs.
No, because is it Jean-Claude Van Damme that died last year?
Did he die? Really?
Yeah. He was doing a movie and he died. And they finished the movie with an AI version of him, and Hollywood actors are all in an uproar.
He's 65 years old. He's still alive.
Okay. Some other guy, was it?
Well, the most outspoken conservative.
Steven Seagal. That's the guy that died. Steven Seagal died.
Well, the most conservative, outspoken Hollywood person would probably be James Woods. James Woods is solid.
Steven Seagal is 73, so keep going, Dwight.
Okay. Hold on. Let me ask AI.
Well, anyway, but James Woods, you remember Chuck Woolery? Chuck Woolery's conservatism may have hurt him in Hollywood, and he died. Chuck Woolery died.
He did. Yeah, he's gone.
Wasn't he? Didn't he play? Wasn't he on the Roseanne Barr show? And he was also, wasn't he also the guy that played When Everybody Loves Raymond, Amy's father?
I don't remember. I just remember from Love Connection. I remember from Love Connection. Way back in 2 and 2. Chuck Woolery was good. Yeah, he was a solid conservative.
I think he was pretty active on Twitter, I think.
Yeah.
And was pretty outspoken too.
But
he was big time.
Is still alive.
But who tried to keep quiet with politics, but I don't think it helped him get into the Hall of Fame is Kurt Schilling, because I still don't think they got him in the Hall of Fame.
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer's conservative. I didn't know that.
No, he died, and that's that's the guy that
Oh.
died.
I see.
Well, but but I mean, with Kilmer, what happened to him was that he lost his ability to speak, right?
Yeah, I
So
think
they
so.
so they used technology to basically allow him to speak and everything like that. It was kind of the whole thing was kind of interesting.
Then after he died, they finished a movie with the AI version of him.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
The show must go on, Don. As they say in Hollywood. But I just think it's a great little piece of technology, but now that Hollywood stars feel AI is coming for their third jobs, they've changed their tune.
Well,
AI.
just for the record, this is the real version of me. This is not the AI version of me.
It's not the AI version.
Yeah.
But just me.
So you got me. So it says here, artificial intelligence replica Val Kilmer, who died of pneumonia in 2025, will star in the forthcoming indie film As Deep as the Grave. And this was just reported this past week. So
Yeah.
he'd been cast as a Catholic priest and Native American spiritualist, and then but he never finished this. They'd started this thing, and his throat cancer was part of this, but then I guess he passed away. So they've created that. But usually when that happens, then that's when the estate gets involved, right? So that they've given permission to do that. Because you remember, when we had that new slew of Star Wars movies, Carrie Fisher had passed away, and I think didn't the
Also,
Emperor.
remember the Emperor? They also did the same thing with Tarkin. Remember Tarkin? But that guy, had no idea he was the biggest star as he was. The guy that played Admiral Tarkin in the original Star Wars. What's hilarious is he did a bunch of B movies before he got really big when he was a stage presence. There was one where he played a wizard. Svengoolie had it on. He plays this wizard, and it's like you just see Tarkin right there. You think it's like General Tarkin or Admiral Tarkin, I should say, or was he a general? Anyways, but
Well,
I mean,
I'm sure, like with the Star Wars movies too, that the younger generation that first went to see that back in, what was it, 1977,
mhm.
had no idea how famous Sir Alec Guinness was,
Yeah,
right?
I had no idea. You know, but I mean, he actually did. He also did stage. He was more on the stage too. I think Sir
Just
Alec Guinness.
he was just a very talented guy and someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked his stuff.
Did we know that Vader was that? You had James Earl Jones doing his voice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that became obvious after a while. I mean,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean that voice was quite a voice.
he was also in Roots, right? James Earl Jones. He was in Roots too, right?
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
And the reason I remember that, I remember years ago. Do you remember Bell Atlantic was Bell Atlantic before it became Verizon? They had this commercial where, because Alex Haley's from Maryland and he was a Republican and he ran for Senate in Maryland. But they had a commercial doing a throwback to Roots, right? Alex Haley. And I remember, and then they replaced Alex Haley with James Earl Jones. And I was telling my brother, "Oh, that's Alex Haley. That's not James Earl Jones." My brother's like, "No, it is." No, it's Alex Haley. Because he talks with the drum. Because Alex Haley talks about how in Africa they used to communicate with drums. Setting drum beats, and if you'd hear him and stuff like that. And I go, "That's Alex." I go, he's probably just gotten older than he was when they first started doing the commercials. But yeah, that's my James Earl Jones story.
So let's throw another news. Let's at least as we get closer to the end here, let's talk a little bit briefly about a liberal icon that has just imploded on the liberals with Cesar Chavez.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Cesar Chavez.
Yeah,
They must have kept it quiet for decades.
they must. Yeah, no.
So when do we get to rename Cesar Chavez Elementary School?
I think there'll be a push for that. I would assume.
So do we also cancel that episode of What's Happening where they make reference to Cesar Chavez? Like, do we just dub over when they mentioned Cesar Chavez through the whole episode?
Yeah,
Well, I
there's.
don't know.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, California is just full of references to Cesar Chavez and honoring him in various places with street names, schools, the parade and everything like that. So they they're busy scrubbing him from their books and all that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
But
this is one that really stings for the liberal left, is to see their
but I'll tell you one thing, okay, and I feel this way about renaming, and because it costs more money to rename a school
Yeah.
than it does just to leave the name,
Yeah. I
Uh,
agree. Yeah.
because
It's
people seem to think when you rename a school, there's only just change the name without. No, there's a lot of other stuff that costs that come along with that.
yeah.
And when it's like local government, dude, there's going to be some padded costs and fees, So I
Yeah.
am not. I don't. The fact that Cesar Chavez is a big liberal, I kind of want them to keep that. So every time when they mention it, to be like a little asterisk. Oh, oh yeah, the guy that used to do blank, blank, blank.
Yeah. But it is an interesting question because it's a great cost. And do you just try to remember him for what he did, or do you bring in the personal life as well? The other thing about Chavez, though, he's not completely pure in the eyes of the left, because remember, my understanding is he was opposed to illegal immigration. So therefore, maybe the left is glad about wiping out his name. I don't know, but I don't know
Wasn't
what.
he for the Bracero program?
But I don't know if that has anything to do with it. His heterodoxy on illegal immigration or not.
Actually, knowing the left, they'll rename all the Cesar Chavez things to Che Guevara.
Yeah, I mean, to a commie, maybe.
That line of thinking had kind of crossed my mind because as soon as I heard Chavez, I think, okay, my mind went straight to Che Guevara, and it's like, what
Yes, we
happens
can't
now?
rename. We got to rename this school for another Hispanic. Oh, Che Guevara. Oh, he's a socialist too.
So
Fidel Castro Elementary School.
this also tells you why, in some cases, you might be safer just to name your schools after a location rather than a person.
Mhm.
I mean, good luck, because look what's happening now anyway. Because the liberals are trying to rewrite history. They've been going after all these schools named after people because of their attachment to slavery or whatever,
Mhm.
anything that offends them. And so those are all, they're trying, they scramble to rename those. It happens in Virginia, I think. It happens here in Maryland.
Well, they want to rename Montgomery Blair High School because they say Montgomery Blair was he didn't oppose slavery. He didn't support it, but he didn't oppose it. Evidently, is the reason they're saying they want to rename Blair.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Magruder High School down the street from here, and I think it's
Hey, is that the same Magruder they got Magruder Park named after in PG County? Is that the same guy?
I don't know. Ours is Zadok Magruder. I don't know what.
I think it might be the same because I know they were talking about renaming Magruder Park also, and I wonder if it's the same guy.
I don't know. On the other hand, one of the things I did like, was the story. I don't know if you saw it, where there's a Christopher Columbus statue on the White House grounds, right? And it was made part from some of the statue that was in Baltimore that those protesters had thrown into the harbor. So it's like, I'll give lots of brownie points to President Trump for that one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree,
I wonder if we have a Democrat president that'll pull it down.
I don't know, but I think I just wish the people that tear down these statues, and I don't know if some were prosecuted, but I think a lot of people got away with a lot of stuff. They should have
that was the Summer of Love, Dave. That's why nobody gets,
Yeah.
It was a Summer of Love.
Look, if you're a liberal left protester and you do all this vandalism and you destroy public property, pretty much a slap on the wrist, but if you're a conservative and you do anything, even if it's relatively peaceful, everybody wants to throw the book at you. It's like, all this.
It's
person's
like
terrible.
abortion protesters, peaceful pro-lifers outside of the abortion.
And not to be that
Yeah.
guy, but what about those not all of those January 6th protesters were violent thug criminals, but
I see that Pelosi was at some unveiling of a J6 plaque there for the Capitol Hill police officers or whatnot. I'm like, yeah, I don't, my thing is like, that really wasn't the point of this plaque.
it's kind of like, the the county executive, former county executive, who's now congressman from Baltimore County. He took the plaque of Spiro Agnew, who's county executive, and put this whole long addendum to it. And I'm thinking, like, what if we do that to some of your heroes? Like, I don't know, pick a racist Democrat, like, what if we do that to Bobby Byrd? All the buildings named after Bobby Byrd in West Virginia. The Bobby Byrd Highway. Why aren't we renaming those? Is what I want to know. By the way, the other thing is, like, right now, what do you call? A lot of folks, they just don't they don't see the big picture. Renaming things costs a lot of money. And right now there isn't a lot of money to go around, but they'll yet spend money on that, And I mean, let's be honest, Prince George's County, don't you think you should be spending that money in the classroom instead of trying to rename a school? Because, they're going to have a whole panel to do a research, to study, to rename the school. And that's going to cost money. They'll probably do a contest and have people write essays why it should be named whatever.
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, county spent millions of dollars renaming all these schools. Now, did it improve?
Remember Arlington County? It's now Justice High School. It used to be Lee.
Washington Lee. Well, Justice High was Jeb Stewart in Fairfax.
Jeb Stewart. They wanted to they got rid of that, and now it's Justice High.
And it's very expensive to get rid of. And does it improve the school? No. Does it improve the education?
Renaming a school will never kick up math and reading scores.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, the thing too is that you go to these schools, and I mean, look, if I went down the street and polled, 500 students out of Magruder High School to say, do you know who Colonel Zadok Magruder was? They're not going to know.
Yeah.
They just know that it's called Magruder High School. We go there, we do our schoolwork, we take our tests, we get our diploma, we move on.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
But it's a balancing act, and I think I'm not saying I always oppose a name change, but I'm just usually skeptical of a name change because of the cost being so high. I don't know that you're going to get much of a benefit out of it, and you shouldn't just do it if it's political virtue signaling. You shouldn't do it if it's just that.
What it is.
Yeah.
Most of the time, yeah. I mean, look. I mean, if you named a school and then you found out the person was a serial murderer or something like that, then I say, okay, you may want. Maybe that's a reasonable thing there, but. This whole thing about when you're trying to rewrite history because, they may have owned slaves or things like this is like, why are we having to worry about this now? It's like, that is just ridiculous. Renaming roads because of that and all this, taking down the statues and all this stuff like that. It's like, come on. Yeah. It's like, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and it may have been a mistake to name the school after this person, that person, but it's already been done. Right. So now that it's already been done.
He is related to the same, it's the same family. The park in PG County is named after a guy named, hold on a second. I just had it in front of me. Is William Magruder. And this guy is also related to him.
So he's related to Zadok Magruder?
Yes.
Oh, okay. See? All right. So you're on the right path.
Yeah. It's not the most common name, but
right.
Again, I just think it's idiotic when they do these things. They should be worried about more of the reading, writing, arithmetics. Frankly,
That would be nice for a change.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we are at the end of our show. Final thoughts, everyone. Dave, go.
Well, check my Substacks. I keep up the columns, and I should have another column this weekend. So check me out on that. And I'm just gonna put out the link. But yeah, if you'd like, I try to keep it going. I have a good article up on Seattle this week about Seattle's difficulties business wise because they've driven a lot of people out of the city. They've got one of the highest vacancy rates in the country. Seattle does, and with a socialist mayor, they're probably not going to be successful in undoing that. So, the title of my column is a little cheeky. I said, "May the last business to leave Seattle remember to turn off the lights." So, but otherwise, doing okay, and looking forward to a hopefully a nice weekend. But we'll see.
Cool. Don, final thoughts?
Yeah, I read that column. That was a good column, David.
Well,
That
thank
was
you.
so yeah. I mean, and you're right. I mean, the thing is that Katie, well, I mean, she is so incompetent and so unprepared for that role.
Yeah.
And these liberals in these areas, they don't understand, what they're doing. That their policies, taxes, and all these things that you're trying, they will pick up their bags and whatever, and they will move to other states. Why has Texas and Florida thrived?
Yeah.
Because they are friendly to businesses. They're and friendly to high net worth individuals, basically. So when you start taxing these people to death, they're like, even the liberals don't want their wealth to go to be taxed away.
Yeah.
So you do wind up with a problem, and they have a crime problem, and just multiple things that happen one on top of the other. So yeah, it's just ridiculous. The when we talked a little bit about immigration and education and stuff like that, there was a story this past week about Loyola University in Chicago, and just how politically correct, woke, whatever you want to call them. So unfortunately, was a young 18-year-old freshman who was murdered early in the morning one night, and they arrested and charged a Venezuelan national in this country illegally, according to DHS. But the original headline referred to this guy as an illegal immigrant, and mentioned DSH in there too. But very quickly, the newspaper changed the headline, and then removed any reference they had in the article to this guy being a little illegal immigrant. So I'm thinking like, great, okay, so the papers apologized for using the words like illegal immigrant for somebody who was an illegal immigrant, and then the editor's note had all the stuff. It's like, well, no human is illegal. Well, he's not in this country legally.
Yep. And by the way,
and illegal alien is part of the U.S. code. I mean,
that is the proper terminology. Everybody talks about green cards, but green cards is the slang word. You know what it's called? It's called an alien registration card. It is not, so if you have an issue with the word illegal aliens, take it up with what it used to be INS, but I guess it's ICE now. Take it up with ICE.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is too is that so the editor's note on this too is like well, we did not conform to the AP style guide, which changed the words that they should use from like illegal alien to undocumented, person, and stuff like that. So it's like this is they were using the 2013 change to the AP style guide as a shield to say, oh, this is why we had to do this, because this is not really a humane way of referring to these people, because it offends them. I'm sorry. You're in this country illegally. Why are we pussyfooting around? Why are we trying to be gentle here? I don't get it. Okay. Anyway, so that's one rant. CBS Radio, Barry Weiss is shutting that down. Didn't quite make it to 100 years. I mean, it has its value. I guess a friend of mine was saying that they did a great job on sports, which actually was true. I mean, they actually covered a lot of sports. So,
Yeah.
and he's a sports nut. But one of Ames' old friends, Wes Vernon, spent his entire career working for CBS Radio. And when he was working for CBS Radio, he always had to keep his head down. And he'd call my father once in a while and just tell him what was going on over there. And my father would talk to him about stuff. And then Wes would try to find a way to feed, conservative things into his radio reports without raising the radar of the people above him. Kind of a delicate balance. But Wes was a real trooper, and and we gave him the Reed Irvine Award one year as a result for, I think, for his career achievements, as having basically been working undercover at CBS Radio for decades. But I don't know in general in this day and age that, when you lose a radio outlet like that a lot of people are going to see this. The world has moved towards streaming, and Barry Weiss is basically trying to figure out how to compete in this new world, because the network itself is, they're there, and they won't last forever. I mean, eventually the profits will fall to a point where there won't be profits anymore at the old line network anyway.
Yeah.
So,
All right, Don, did you see the article Todd Hobbs did for the club on the death of CBS Radio?
yes, I did.
Yeah, I think he mentions your dad in there too.
Yeah. So I saw that. One thing I will say about what the club does, is that, how you guys have set that up for,
Yeah.
it's a 3-minute read or a 5-minute read. A lot of the stuff is very short and easy to read, which is great, and everything like that.
Oh, wait till you see what we have.
Though I wouldn't mind if any of your education guys, they wanted to write a longer piece, I'd post it on our site and then to our newsletter.
Let me know. I'm willing to bet Carol would love to do that. We tell Carol to keep it short because Mark doesn't like them to being too long. So Carol would probably love to write for you on various education.
If she wants to write something longer for the AA website that focuses on education, higher education first, public education second, even longer, even slightly longer pieces go on our newsletter.
Well, I tell you, Ian's cousin Jimmy, who goes to Princeton, he it's funny, he's an engineering major, and he goes, how can a class on environmental engineering turn into a lecture on Republicans bad, Democrats good?
Because stuff. I mean, look, all this garbage has been going on for years. I mean, I'll go back. I go back to when my youngest son was, in high school, and he was in his Spanish class. They had a unit on the environment that was all nothing but Al Gore.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay, he's like, why are we doing this?
Hey Don, did you see this? Ian wrote an article going after Maryland native Rachel Carlson.
That's funny.
But I mean, we've got, and as people who get our Substack, come to the website. We put out 6 new articles every single day. Like right now, we've got a special on Women's History Month featuring conservative women. We've got, it started at the beginning of the month with with basically looking at women in foreign policy. Folks like Jean Kirkpatrick, Nikki Haley, Condi Rice, Claire Booth Luce. And then we have a whole slew of Maryland women like Marjorie Holt, Helen Bentley, Connie Morella, Ellen Sauerbrey, Kendall Ehrlich, Diana Waterman, Jessica Hare. And today we did Jessica and Katja Bullock.
I briefly looked. I saw the picture of Katja on there. That was a great picture, actually, of Katja.
Yeah, and I tell you, I love. I could do the exact same graphics, but it would take me about an hour and a half, maybe, to do some of the stuff. I could tell AI to do it, and it's gotten to the point where you can just refine it enough to get it looking exactly the way you want.
Yeah, AI can be somewhat helpful. I mean, I say, I ask AI to help, with something, and I'm like, but you have to check it, because it's like, I
Mhm.
I was trying to get more information on the whole Loyola thing, and instead of identifying Loyola, Chicago, it actually identified Loyola, Baltimore, and I'm like, wrong school.
Yes, I believe our friend Jake Taylor, councilman in Bel Air, is an alum of Loyola, Baltimore.
Yeah, but this, these are the kind. There are experiences where, AI has some worth. I mean, I've tested it on doing proofing and editing, which I thought was not bad. But when it starts giving you, the wrong university with
Mhm.
with the wrong
Yeah,
school paper name, you're like, no, it's like it's clearly this other one in another
oh,
part of the country.
and AI, the other great thing about AI, if you give it the right guardrails, like if you put it in the prompt, Loyola University, Illinois, blah, 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 it should, most of the time, it'll stick to those guardrails. It's not going to look at Loyola, Maryland, or Loyola, Ohio, or whatever.
It was
Eh,
just bizarre to me because I think I said something about Loyola University, and it just pulled the stuff and named it Loyola University, Maryland, and I'm
mhm,
like, you just made this whole thing up. I mean, you've taken the Loyola Chicago story
mhm.
and you made it there. You made some vague references in there, but it's the wrong school. It's everything. So you have to kind of like, well, this is kind of worthless because it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me find some other things I was looking for because you've given me so much wrong
Mhm.
information. And I think it does make up information along the way because I'm like, I don't see anything
It
like
does,
this.
and that's why you gotta proof it. You can't just, take
Right,
it,
right. You can't just go and do it because people get into trouble if they just take AI for its word and
but
just
I think
publish it.
what I found AI is great for when I'm writing program and I've got an error, I could go line by line and figure out where the mistake is. I could just throw that code into AI and it'll find that and I'll be done in a matter of minutes. But I had a good article this week. I don't know if you saw that one on AI is not coming for your jobs. It kind of because I think people might be a little bit panicking when this whole AI is going to take my job away. I think it's the key is you got to retool yourself because people said this about the internet when it came out. And I also think it's very important for candidates to get very comfortable with AI, frankly. But
Yeah. All right. Well, one more thing, and I'll let you
mhm,
pontificate and
yeah.
finish up here too. Which this one may get the liberals all in a lather. I saw a story that President Trump will be now his signature will be appearing on our currency.
And we got
And
a coin too coming
the
out.
excuse is because it's the 250th anniversary, so you got to put his name on there.
Well, we're also getting a gold coin with his
I
face.
know. Well, they're trying. I think the coin thing is. I don't know if the coin thing has been approved. They're trying, but I don't know if they've gotten it approved yet. I think somebody has to approve that, and they haven't been able to do it. But yeah, I mean, there's almost nothing that Trump isn't
Mhm.
trying to touch in this last term. It's so amusing.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he has the good sense to have the Donald Trump memorial funded and built on the mall before he goes.
Who
You know.
knows? Anything is possible in these days with him. Anyway, that's it. Back to you.
Okay, a couple of things. Tomorrow, we have the APIC, which is the National Capital chapter of the Political Memorabilia Show and Sale tomorrow at the. It's going to be over at the Hilton, which is the old Crown Plaza in Rockville. Right, but it starts at 9 o'clock and goes to about 3. I will be there. So if anyone wants to come by and say hello, I will be there around 11:30 at the Political Memorabilia Show. And Don, you're welcome to join us. Our friend Al will be there as well. We're going to be there from 11:30 to about 2ish, I guess, or 1ish, you know. And you too, Dave, if you want to come on out to do the political memorabilia stuff. And tickets are only $5, but they only take cash at the door because I'm assuming it's because they're probably old and they don't do well with technology.
Well, I mean, at $5, the thing is that using technology will just chip away, a lot of your
It
income.
costs more. It'll cost them a dollar something in fees.
It could. I mean, theoretically, it could.
And another issue is, did you know Capital One changed all of their cards to Discover cards now?
Oh
Their
yeah.
debit cards all have the Discover. I even got my new Capital One, whatever their card is. It's now going to be now. I've been told I'm going to be getting a Discover Capital, basically a Discover card instead of the Capital One, whatever. I mean, the other card will still work, but they said we're giving you another card that's got the Discover, and I think they're going to be. I think their plan is they're going to phase it out because I get the same stuff with the Capital One card, but I don't know. Capital One.
Well, because they bought Discover. And
Yep.
Discover has a payment system like Visa, MasterCard,
Mhm.
and this will save Capital One a lot of money now owning their own payment system.
Yeah, I hope that means they're going to do away with ATM fees like PNC does.
That I don't know.
And by the way, what do you call Sheets and Wawas? You can use their ATMs fee free.
See, I mean, I never use an ATM because I never carry any cash.
I don't either. It's like I don't, but every now and then I do need to have cash. Like when I'm in Florida and I'm going to the flea market down there, I need cash.
I leave my wife in charge of cash. And it's like anytime we're going anywhere and we need to tip somebody, it's up to her. I leave it up to her and the amount, and just like.
By the way, speaking of tips, do you think tipping culture has gotten to the point where I took my car to a flagship car wash and there's a thing that says, "Hey, would you like to tip?" No, I'm not going to tip you. I'll tip at the outside to the people that are actually doing the work. But I mean, what did you do for me other than just run my card, basically?
Yeah, I mean, the people who finish your car up, like if they're drying it and doing whatever,
Yeah.
I think they're the guys that deserve the tip. But I mean, it's like when you first enter, it's like, who are you tipping exactly?
Aaron Ackerman, who writes for us also at the club, he tells you there's there's a grocery store in Connecticut that's what you swipe. Would you like to tip? Like, what am I tipping the cashier for?
Yeah, no, I mean I think as a result of the COVID pandemic, COVID thing, we definitely have gotten into, we've gone overboard on the tipping, and it's hard to come back from that in some senses. But
Starbucks is another offender of that.
The worst offenders of tipping are the restaurants that put suggested tipping on your total bill, including the tax instead of the pre-tax. It's like, no, I do my own tipping. Sorry.
Yeah, my view, not to interrupt on someone else's time, but just with the tipping is that I don't usually tip unless I've been served. No, however, I don't criticize them for keeping a hand open or a tip jar because not literally, but because you never know, you might get someone who's in a very generous mood and they're feeling really good and they'll hit the tip button. So that's why I kind of understand why they
Do you
do
tip
it.
at McDonald's, Dave, when they suggest
I've never
10%?
seen the tip offered at McDonald's. I've never seen that, but
McDonald's has that.
But you have to be paying attention to everything too, because one time I tipped at Crumble when I didn't plan to do it, but it's because I was running a transaction on the app so quickly. I completely, they had a suggested tip amount there, and I didn't change it.
Yeah.
Cheesecake Factory starts the suggested tip at 20%.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, if the service is good, I don't care.
I remember tip was 10% was a good tip.
I remember 15%, but I never remember 10. I remember
15 was for really good service.
Oh, really? Okay.
20 was for extraordinary service. Remember Paul Wyrick did a whole commentary on tips.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. Also, Paul also did one on Campbell's versus Progressive Soup.
I didn't hear that one, though.
Well, no, because Paul goes, "I'll stick to the Campbell soup." He was talking about how the commercial for Progressive Soup was very lefty leaning, and they make basically the husband is making soup and he has a Campbell's thing, and Paul's like, the husband's made to look like an idiot because he wants Campbell's soup, and the wife gives him a blue can for Progressive, and it's like supposed to be, but yeah. But also another thing.
That's just I don't know.
But that is a Paul Weyrich type of commentary we'd get. You know.
It's probably best that you wrap this up, Dwight.
Yes. Yes. My last is Orioles Magic. We are undefeated, everyone. Undefeated. We beat the Twins yesterday, and we are undefeated.
So are the Nationals.
See, I feel I don't have much more time to say undefeated.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, obviously.
And but that's about it. Orioles Magic, everyone. Good night. And oh, by the way, if you're in the Baltimore area, drive up to Perry Hall, go to Missoni's, and if you mention the Bob and Kendall podcast, you get a discount on your meal. I think it's 10%, but I don't want to say definitely it's 10%. So just go there and say, hey, Bob and Kendall sent you. Or the doctors at Dr. Paul, or the doctors at Dr. Politics sent you.
They'll be
They'll get
like,
you know.
who?
There you can go to any restaurant in America and tell them that David Shepard sent you, and you know what you get? A free glass of water.
Yeah. Same here.
You know, it's funny though, but if you go to a Comfort Inn and tell them your friend Mr. Patel suggested this, you might get a free room out of it.
Yeah.
But anyways, good night, everyone. See everyone next week.
All right.
See you guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Let's go down to Missoni, where Italian cuisine shines.